it's important to be debating women's issues because whilst women make up a significant proportion of the total workforce in Northern Ireland, particularly in the Northern Ireland public sector, there are very few women who get to the most senior executive positions. And we're currently at the University of Ulster carrying out a research project which is looking at gender equality at the executive level. And what we're finding to date is, from our findings in stage 1 of the study, we found there is a level of inequality. We found that 29% of executives are females and 71% are males. So there is a level of inequality right across the public sector in Northern Ireland. And I think it's important that we first of all identify this, and secondly that we attempt to try and ascertain why this inequality persists, what are the barriers, etc., in terms of trying to improve gender equality at this level.
Well, I came today because I work for an organisation called Here NI, and we work with lesbian and bisexual women. And whilst there's a lot of really great work being done for the women's sector, the experience that we've had is that lesbian and bisexual women are still being left behind quite a lot. So we're making real advances in terms of childcare and the gender equality strategy, but we're still seeing a real gap there between mainstream women and lesbian and bisexual women. So I'm here today to at least make sure that lesbian and bisexual women are represented. Well, I guess what I get out of today is just to see, I mean, for me personally, to see women up there talking on a podium is a massive thing. It's also great to hear the stories from other videos of women and their success stories and women in enterprise and stuff like that. And actually, it's really great for me to be here so that I can relay this back to the groups and individuals that I work with, so that they might see some women, you know, in positions of power or in positions of, you know, seniority as well. We're still not quite there for lesbian and bisexual women. There are probably a lot of lesbian and bisexual women out there in business and in positions of seniority, but they're not out maybe, so we need to empower lesbian and bisexual women as well to come out.
It was important for me to come along today because my role at Northern Ireland Fire and Rescue Service, I'm a Human Resources Manager with responsibility for equality. Northern Ireland Fire and Rescue Service is significantly underrepresented by women amongst its employees. We have just under 1,900 firefighters, of which only 47 are women. And also within our senior management structure, again, we're underrepresented by women. Well, it was really interesting hearing the different perspectives of the speakers, and personally what I think I'm going to take out of today going forward is a renewed vigour for going back to my organisation and focusing on gender equality issues, taking those to my senior management team and to my board.
I think it's hugely important in the week where we are focusing on women, International Women's Day on Friday, that we do concentrate on economic independence as a part of everything. Sadly, however, I think that we are regressing, and to my outlook with welfare reforms and various other issues, including the ability for women to get seed funding for any enterprise that they might want to take on. It's very difficult, and the whole issue of childcare has raised its head again. It's not affordable. We lack very much in Northern Ireland the ability for both women and men as parents to access childcare, which is affordable and near at hand.
Well, I think the whole area of gender equality is hugely important. I'm from Women in Business Northern Ireland, and I have seen many of the barriers and issues that are faced by women. So it's important to be here to represent the business community and to have a look at where we are currently with the gender equality. I think from today, I think it was great to see so many organisations represented in the room. It was great to see so many men in the room. I think in terms of all of the topics covered, it was very important that that information was put out there. We need to take that information. Some of it is depressing. We haven't moved on far enough, but it's good that it's out there again. We were presented with that information.
Well, I was delighted to come along here today. I was delighted to be invited by the Equality Commission today. I have a long history of being interested in equality issues, and particularly women's issues. And I've worked extensively with different people within the women's sector over many years. I've recently taken early retirement and I've continued my interest in this area. There was particularly a couple of speakers that I was interested in hearing. One, I was interested in hearing the views from the Invest Northern Ireland, and particularly the opportunities there are for women to enhance the economic development in Northern Ireland, and that was very interesting. Similarly, I was interested to hear what Rona Hines had to say about the wider scale framework for what still needs to be done, and the context and the evidence that she has for making the recommendations that she's made.
I felt it was very important to attend today's event because I work with ethnic minorities. And at the moment we're currently getting ready for the CEDAW hearing, the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. And I think it's really important in considering issues of economic participation that issues of multiple identity and those additional barriers that ethnic minority women might face. For example, there'll be additional language barriers, issues around accessing credit, immigration issues, those kinds of things, which I think are really important to raise in this kind of wider context, so that a holistic approach is really taken to looking at economic participation.
I came to today's event because I think it's important that women need to be encouraged to challenge the system, because women are not getting a fair share. It was important for me to come here today to support two women from our local communities and neighbourhoods who had been interviewed and had given testimonials to appear at today's conference. So I think it was important to come along with them and support them as well.
Well, as a result of what's been discussed today, I think there are several key messages that we need to take away. We know now how critical good childcare is to enabling women to go to work and to stay in work and to progress to better paid jobs. This is the only region of the UK that doesn't have a childcare strategy. There's lots of government officials in that room today. There's lots of women who can take this forward, who can respond to consultations, who can lobby, who can ask not just for childcare but an adequate level of childcare, universal childcare provision which gives every working parent the right to childcare. I think also we know that there's a job of work to be done in relation to carers, the economic support for carers, and in relation to women's economic independence, as we heard from several of the speakers. And we've also heard usefully about how we can take that work forward, the campaigns that we can become involved in, and how we can all contribute our own expertise to those.